Good morning. This is Jeff Peterson with the Foil and Specialty Effects Association. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. And thank you for getting on today for our webinar on the repulpability, recyclability of metallic transfer decorating on paperboard. A little background, we formed a sustainability committee for FSEA. It's been probably close to 18 months, 2 years ago. And felt it was time for us to really, have a plan to put together several studies, information that our industry can use and that we can have available for brand owners and others in the industry looking for information on transfer metallic decorating on paper. So that was the beginning of several things that we have put together, and we wanted to share that with everyone that could be on this webinar, both our FSEA members and others. So we're going to do an overview of what we have available, and at the end of the broadcast, or as you're going through, there is a Q&A, so you can put in some questions. If there are some questions at the end, I'll do my best to answer those as well. So let's get started today. First of all, I want to just talk about an overview of what we'll be discussing. We're going to talk about our mission, about our sustainability initiatives with FSEA. One of the testing and information we've done recently is on the negligible amount of aluminum that is in metallic transfer foils, and we'll discuss that. And then we'll talk in more detail about our repulpability study that we did now about 3 to 4 years ago, still fairly new, is being used a lot. And then I'm also going to briefly talk about another study that was done with Western Michigan on cold foil transfer. And then we'll spend quite a bit of time on the brand new study that has just come out on the recycling of fiber-based materials with transfer metallics. So first, just to talk briefly about our mission as FSEA, and this is some of the things we put together as a sustainability committee in our FSEA board of directors, is that we wanted to make sure that we're generating pertinent and accurate information as it pertains to metallic transfer decorating technologies and sustainability, and to use that information with other tools to educate government entities, governmental agencies, print service providers, converters, brand owners, on the functional and sustainability benefits of metallic decorating technologies, and create a point of contact for those who need information on regarding sustainability issues as it relates to metallic decorating technologies. So this is the reason we put all of this together, and that we have now started on a path to put several studies and information together to make sure we do have accurate information in the marketplace. Before we get started in talking about the different processes, I thought it might make sense to just discuss the metallic decorating options that are out there today. So this showcases how metallic transfer foil is made and manufactured. And this, as you can see up at the top, the way to manufacture hot, cold transfer, or even digital foils in today's marketplace, the manufacturing process for the foil itself is all the same. You can see it starts with a clear PET film carrier. That's the first, that's what you start with. It's a clear carrier. And then the first layer is a release coat. And that releases all the foil product that then goes on to a paperboard or other substrate. The next layer is the top coat, the color coat. So I think the best way to describe this is that if you have a gold foil, popular gold foil, you're going to see a translucent yellowish layer. That would be the next layer on. And then after that layer goes on, it could be a blue, it could be a red. Then it goes into a vacuum metallization process where a very thin aluminum layer is applied to that film. And that gives it, of course, that metallic look. And we're going to talk about that aluminum layer here fairly quickly. And then the last coat is an adhesive coat. And this is where it changes out quite a bit as far as how what that adhesive coat is. So that'll change if it's a hot foil, a cold foil, digital foil. that adhesive is going to be slightly different. If it's going down on an uncoated stock versus a coated stock, or possibly a plastic film that the foil is going over, then of course that adhesive coat is going to be different depending on what that different process is. Another area to talk about is foil board. This is another metallic transfer or metallic process. And I think it's important to point out that when you're dealing with a metallic paper, a foil paper, foil board, that the entire surface is going to have a metallic look, or possibly a holographic look. You can see this on here as a holographic pattern on the entire sheet. So that is, of course, different than a transfer foil where you're putting down foil in very specific areas. And there's two ways that this is put together as far as foil board. It can be a laminated board where the film actually is applied with the metallic surface, so the film stays on the paper or board, or it can be a transfer process, which is really similar to a cold foil process where they're transferring just like we were talking about, they're transferring all the metallic material to a board and the film that's not on it. With this type of application, when companies are utilizing a paper board, they're overprinting it inline, on a lot of times, an offset press, and then they may CMYK, but they also may use a opaque white ink to be able to cover up some areas where they don't want the metallic to show through. The first thing I'm going to discuss briefly is some testing and study that we did on the amount of aluminum, because we do get that question asked on how much aluminum or how much metal is in metallic foil. And we put out a full press release to discuss how very small amount there is of metal aluminum in metallic foils. It is so thin, it's measured in nanometers. It's a 1/10 of an angstrom, which is even a smaller measurement than a nanometer. So it's done through the vacuum metallized process that I talked about earlier, and it's an extremely thin layer of aluminum that goes on there. The amount is between 30 and 60 nanometers in thickness that is applied, and this is information that we gathered from metallic foil manufacturers that are members of our FSEA. A couple other points here that kind of demonstrates how small amount of aluminum and metal that's in foil, that it's over 300 times thinner than a household aluminum foil, that thickness of the metal. And this is a great example too. A lot of you may be familiar that a jumbo roll of metallic foil, when it's manufactured, is in the 40-inch by 35,000 feet, a huge roll of foil. It would be more, barely the amount inside my thumb would be the amount on an entire jumbo roll of aluminum that would go into that. So the point is that it has very little impact on recycling, very little impact on the environment overall, because it's such a small amount. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we did, one of the first studies that we did when we kind of refocused on a lot of the sustainability, was a new study on metallic transfer foil and can it be repulped, can it be recycled? A little background, it's been literally, I think, 13 to 14 years ago, we did a study when a lot of sustainability issues were first coming up. We did a study with Pyra, which is a UK-based laboratory company, and did something very similar to this back then. And it was very well accepted, and it was important that we did it at that time. And what we decided on just a few years ago, that it was time we needed to do another one, that that was old enough. It was time to update the study and do a brand new one. And so we worked closely with Georgia Tech's Renewable Bioproducts Institute and commissioned it with them to do this study. They have a whole paper recycling, repulping area of their university that they can do this type of thing. So we put this study together, which is available to those who are on this call. If you don't have it, we have it available, and you can reach out to me for a copy of it. But just a quick scope of what we did with it. We used a 12-point cardstock and different levels of metallic transfer foil coverage, 50% up to 100%, on a 12-point, I think this was an 8.5 by 11 sheet. They received the samples and they were repulped under a simulated conditions similar to a paper recycling facility. Rejects and screen yields were determined, and the paper material that the accepted fibers were assessed using a plasma optical emission spectrometer. I don't understand all what that means, but basically it was done under the same types of conditions as repulpability of paper is done. So here's a quick glance at the conclusions that came out of our Georgia Tech study. The paper stock that included the metallic foil could be repulped to a yield of 75% fibers with very low rejects. As we talked about, the very small amount of aluminum that's in transfer foils, it could be broken down to very small particles. And during the fibers and during screening, the aluminum content was reduced to a super small amount in the reclaimed fibers. The average fiber length of the reclaimed fibers was 0.937, which was a typical value for softwood pulp fibers when they're repulped. The next area here, the hand sheet prepared from the reclaimed fibers demonstrated similar physical strength to the recycled paper towel fibers. To explain that a little bit, what Georgia Tech did was create the hand sheets from the foiled metallic decorated paper products, and then they also did with the same amount of paper with just using towel fibers. So they did a comparison, and the strength was very similar to both. So the metallic foil had no impact on the strength of that of those reclaimed fibers compared to unfoiled or undecorated paper products. And a final comment here was that it was feasible to repulp the paper that included the metallic transfer foil that is done in common recycling settings. So those were the final results that came from this. And again, this is all explained in more detail. We have several tables that talk about how it was done and how the study was performed, and more details are available through the study. I want to touch on another study around the same time that we did this study. This one was done as well, and it was sponsored by one of our FSEA members, Eagle Systems, who worked with Western Michigan University on this study. And it was done specifically on cold foil. Actually, our repulp study that we commissioned was done with hot foil stamped sheets, and then this one was done with cold, so it gave a little different look. As I mentioned in one of the first slides, the manufacturing process of cold or hot or digital, and quite honestly, the transfer foil board, it's really all a very similar situation to where these types of studies can apply to all of them. But I think it was good that we had a testing on hot. This was done on cold. The scope of this study was done using repulping recycling treated SBS fiberboard. It was an 80-pound litho sheet, and all the cold foil process was performed and donated by McLean Packaging, one of our FSEA members in New Jersey. And they did 100% coverage of cold foil on a 28 by 40 sheet to get the results from this study. And I think what's interesting with that is that this would be an overkill. Most all applications with cold foil, there's going to be a portion of a large sheet that may be cold foil transferred, but it's most likely not going to be 100% coverage. But they did that to get to look at the best results. Just quickly, some of the results that they did confirm from from this study at Western Michigan is, as we've already discussed, the amount of aluminum is so small, it's extremely less than the volume of paper, and that the samples that were all determined to be 100% repulpable and recyclable, very similar to the study that we commissioned with Georgia Tech. These testing results are available. We do have an area on our FSEA website, on our sustainability and green initiatives part of the site, where you can ask for these results, and will be available to you. So one of the main things I want to discuss today is the brand new study that we have just launched. We launched it at our print embellishment conference in early April. And that was something we've done this year, and it was on the recycling of fiber-based materials with transfer metallic decoration. Basically, what's happened in the marketplace is that we completed this study. We've been distributing this study, and what some of the brand owners and some others in the industry have asked, okay, well, it's great that you have showed that foiled, stamped, cold foil transfer, metallic transfer onto paperboard is recyclable and is repulpable, but is it being done? Is it actually going into the recycling stream? So what we did was work with the company that distributes and offers the sorting equipment that goes into the MRFs from all over the United States. So I'm not saying every single one, but they're a major supplier of all the sorting equipment to the MRFs, who is determining what is going to the landfill and what is going to recycling. So that's what this study was done for, to look at, to see is the material that has metallic decorated metallic decoration on it, is it being recycled? Real quick, I do want, this was a huge undertaking. I want to take a minute to thank all the companies here that who helped donate more funds so we can make all of this happen. Infinity Foils, ITW Shinemark, Kurz, Univaco, Case Paper and Case Makes, Letterhead Press, LPI, Diamond Packaging, Universal Engraving, Bog Graphic Finishing House, and K Laser. So a lot of our members were part of this process. Several of them went to the testing as well with representatives to see how everything went. We had a full day at Van Dyke to do all of this testing, and so we'll talk now a little bit about the results from what we got from that. With this test that we did with Van Dyke at their Van Dyke Technology Center, we contracted with them. And again, to reiterate, they are the leading provider of recycling and sorting systems for all the MRFs around the country. The equipment that was used, it's a Tomra Auto Sort. It's an optical sorting system common at many of the MRFs. So in other words, this multifunctional optical sorting system will bring the material in. They can, when they know that it becomes fiber-based paper material, it goes through their sorting equipment, and then it's determined through this electronic eye what gets sorted for recycling, what gets sorted that has to go to the landfill. The Tomra clearly identifies the materials and color samples being tested and determines, again, what is recycled and what is not recycled. What we did with this test is we had 20 samples of 8 different products, and it ranged between folding cartons and greeting cards, two very important part of our industry that utilizes a lot of metallic decorating techniques. And the coverage of the foil on these products that were tested was between 25% and all the way up to 75%. And here are some conclusions that came from our brand new study. Is that between the 8 folding cartons and the greeting card samples that were tested at the center, it was all to mimic various functions found in material recovery facilities, the MRFs, sorting plants in a laboratory setting. all 8 of the folding cartons and greeting cards, including the estimated 25% up to 75% coverage of transfer metallic decoration on all of them. The summary of the test results of each of the 8 fiber-based transfer metallic decorating samples demonstrated that 100% of all the samples would be included in the recycling stream. So out of all of the 8 samples, there was 20 of each. They all went through with other material through the sorting equipment. They all were placed into the recycling stream area and were not put into where it would go to the landfill. None of the samples were sorted and destined for landfill. The test results of the Van Dyke sorting study with the conclusions from our repulping of foil decorated paper study indicates that fiber-based transfer metallic decorating materials are recyclable and currently most likely being sorted by the material recovery facilities, the MRFs, to be included in the recycling stream. So that was kind of the final conclusion that we came up with between both of the studies. And again, both of these studies are available to anyone that's interested. You can contact me at FSEA here, and we will help you out. This is an overall conclusion that through our sustainability committee and our board of directors to state that all paper, the paperboard containing metallic transfer decoration is repulpable and recyclable, with the understanding that no other elements included in the total structure are deemed to be non-recyclable. Again, so the understanding that the metallic part, the metallic transfer part, does not create any situation where a product, a paper fiber-based product, can be recycled. So again, if there are questions, I'm going to go back to see if we do have any questions here. But please make a note here that you can contact us. I'm sorry, I didn't have my email on here, and I should have done that, but please feel free to email me, and it's Jeff, Jeff, @fsea.com. So if you have questions via email, you can reach me that way. You also can see that there's a phone number there if you have questions and need to talk to me personally. But that way you have a way to get in hold of me. I'm going to see. Now I'm going to go and see if we have any other questions. I need to escape that. All right. Let's see. Let's see if there's any. Looks like we do have a question here in regards to what are there other types of studies that our sustainability committee and FSEA are looking at in the future. And yes, we are going to work very hard to stay on top of this and look at other ways that we can create information that will be helpful for our members and others to understand about, understand the sustainability issues of transfer metallic decorating. We don't have anything specific on the docket right now of what we'll be doing, but please, I think I mentioned we have a really, really good area on our website, fsea.com, on sustainability and green initiatives. So please, always check that periodically, because anything new, anything we're working on. We do have some designer guides and some things, and some people we're working with to update information on materials that's being distributed out there in the marketplace. So we'll post all of that on the site, social media as well. So again, I appreciate everybody get on. We had a really, really nice group. And if there's any other questions that come up, please get in hold of me. And I appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.